Wow, it has been a while. I made a character called Wilf from my childhood that I'd drawn as a character. Sir Prancelot was another one from the series, so let's go. Sir Prancelot was supposed to be the guy in charge. He was the one that was all muscle-bound, superhero type. But the whole point of the story was that he was pretty useless. And Wilf ended up saving the day. So here we are, we're right up to the point of adding some arms and legs and things like that. We've already put the super light on and given it a bake, just so we've got a base coat, if you like, underneath. He is quite a muscle-bound chap, so I keep referring back to the drawings, and if I can't quite get everything from the drawing, I just check myself out in the mirror. Anyway, we're adding a bit more detail in here with his sort of chest and back skin, if you like. The back is going to ultimately be covered by a nice flowing cape, so we're not going to have to worry too much about that. We're just going to see a little bit around the sides. I'm just adding more and more muscle detail. Something of a recurring theme through my models is that I never seem to get the scale right, or the proportions. And yet again, he's got a very long body and not very long legs. Something for me to work on, I think. So it's got a kind of breastplate thing that's made out of metal, I think. And so rather than putting it completely over the whole chest that I've just spent all that time putting on, I'm just putting the edges in and then blending them into the chest area. Here I am adding a bit of detail because I wasn't really sure what I was going to be doing with this, and I think I ended up smoothing it off again. So adding a belt, nice rough looking belt. And his gauntlets, similar to the breastplate. Just put a little flat piece of clay, blending it in to the rest of the arm so it looks like it's all in one. Making his hands, just a little flattened out blob. And shaping the fingers. 4 fingers on this one, and then adding the thumb as a separate item once I've shaped it. Again, the proportions aren't exactly correct. And pop that thumb on. Blendy blend. All looking good. Just adjusting the skeleton because he's going to be proper flexing that right arm. Here I am adding a bit of liquid clay, sort of dabbing it on to give a bit of texture to whatever on earth that is. And then using some isopropyl alcohol to smooth it off before putting it into bake. carrying on with the sculpts once that top bit's all baked and safe, just in case I drop it, I can move on to the legs. And usually it's me with my hands in the way, but this time Sir Prancelot's doing it, so you have to believe me when I say I'm adding the final details to his belt. So, onto that rock. Big scrunched up bit of foil, wrapped in clay, and then just textured with a big chunk of rock. This works so well, and looks really good once you finish painting it. I cracked out the Cosclay for the cape because the Cosclay doesn't go completely hard, so it stays flexible once you've baked it, and good for things where they're sticking out, like fingers, if they're pointing, or things like this where they're going to be loose, hanging, and they won't crack and make you cry. Adding all the folds in and putting a couple of buckly button things on, but not in the right place, and then trying to squish it back on in the right place, but it's all wrong again, so I'll make a new one. Just adding the features into his face, adding bits of clay here for his cheekbones, and then pushing out some nostrils into that nose. Shaping out the line of his mouth. He's got a big cheesy grin. And then pressing in the shape of his teeth. Adding the moustache. Right, on to the last few steps now. This is why it's a good idea to bake it all before you start adding the hair, and then when you decide that you put it in the wrong place, you don't go smashing up his face. Got a particularly distinctive hairstyle, this one. He's looking a little bit Elvis at the moment, but then got to remember it's the 80s and he had a flat top. Although it's supposed to be a medieval character. And using this brush to add a bit of stippled effect at the top. Apparently that was supposed to be used for cleaning, but oops. If you go back to the Wilf character that I made, he had a wooden sword because he was just supposed to be the serf, you know, the servant. So Sir Prancelot, he's you know, a lot higher up the ladder, so he gets a proper sword. And once we've finished the detail on that sword with some leather wrapping, it all goes back into the oven for its final bake. And then we're on to painting. So start with the trickier stuff first, that I won't be able to get into later, so his teeth, before we get onto the major areas of painting. Went with blue. Now, the original cartoon was just done in black and white, so I've got no idea what the colours were going to be. Ended up with blue, which made him kind of look a little bit like Superman. He's not a superhero, that's what I keep telling people. And a nice sort of browny bronze for his breastplate. And that was a mix of a bronze and a bit of brown, which would explain the browny bronze. Nice blonde hair for that flat top. Steady as you go. And jumping to the base, it's going to be textured with a bit of sand to give it a soily kind of look. It's quite nice that this sand's already got bits of stone in there to add some extra detail. While that's drying, we're on to the next stage of painting. So adding some watery, darker colours into those recessed areas and then dabbing it off with a bit of a kitchen towel. So they seep into all of those gaps. Wipe off the excess. Oh, don't forget his tash. Whites for the eyes. We will be coming back to those. And touching in the teeth where I went a bit wrong. A dry brushing. It's where you're supposed to just very delicately, gently touch the edges with a lighter colour to bring out the highlights. This is not what it's supposed to look like. But you can always go over it with your main colour again and have a better attempt. It's a bit more successful with the hair. Some bleachy blonde highlights in there. And his eyebrows. I'm not sure why I didn't do those when I was doing his moustache, but never mind. Nice royal looking purple for his cape as well. And brown for the boots. So the eyes, little dots first, just to make sure I've got them in the right direction, and then fill them in with a brush. But my brush wasn't quite right loaded with the paint. So I try it with the end of a paintbrush to get circles, and it was absolutely dreadful. So we'll have another go with another brush, see if that makes it any better. Not really. We will come back to those. decided that the brown belt was a little bit too brown and just mixed with the breastplate too much, so I went with black. And here we are on another attempt at the eyes. Painted over them with white, and then just 2 quick dots. So speeding through the process of the base coat, and then washes, then the highlights dry brushes for the rock. There's a lot of drying time in between all of those. And similar sort of thing, it's sort of mid brown for the base coat, and then tickling it with a few different colours for the rocks and stones. Bit of super glue for his sword, and that's him done. So I hope you enjoyed that and me waffling on. I do plan on building a third one to go with this series. It could be a lady this time. So stand by, and hopefully I won't leave it so long. Bye for now.